You've emptied your bank account, your heart, your life into your child's perfect day, only to be banished to a squeaky folding chair behind a kitchen door, watching through a crack as strangers toast your son like he was never yours. The flowers? Paid for. The band? Paid for. The open bar? Paid for. Your seat? A gravy-stained corner next to a broken cart. This is Margaret's story, a mother who built a kingdom with calloused hands and torched it with 3 quiet phone calls. If you've ever been erased from your own life, stay. This spiral of betrayal, buried secrets, and blazing rebirth will gut you, heal you, and dare you to take back your throne. If this story cracks something open in you, subscribe to Shattered Voices right now. Hit the bell, share this with every woman who's ever been told to shrink. Drop your city in the comments. Let's build a map of warriors who refuse to sit in the kitchen. Your voice is next. Speak it. There was no sign, no card, no nameplate, no warm greeting, just a folding chair with a crumpled paper napkin tossed over the seat like an afterthought. That was my place, wedged between a tower of dirty trays and a rolling cart with a wheel that squeaked every time someone shoved it past. I stood there for a few seconds, blinking hard, trying to make sense of it. The air was thick with marinara and steam, the heat from the ovens pressing against my back like a warning. I looked down at my dress, soft mauve chiffon, hand stitched along the hem because I couldn't justify the extra cost of alterations. 3 hours that morning getting my hair pinned into an elegant low bun. 3 hours pretending this day would be as special for me as it was for them. But no one had told me. No one said, we've made other arrangements. No one even looked at me when I arrived. Not even Daniel. He was too busy grinning, adjusting his cufflinks, letting her mother kiss him on the cheek like she'd been the one rocking him through night terrors. Like she'd been the one picking up double shifts when he needed braces and I couldn't afford both rent and his smile. I clutched my little beige leather handbag, the one he'd bought me for Mother's Day when he was 12, back when he still called me Mama and meant it. My hands were shaking. I could feel the tremor in my wrists, a low electrical hum trying to crawl out through my fingertips. The catering manager, a boy who couldn't have been more than 22, smiled awkwardly, his eyes darting anywhere but mine. They said you were supposed to wait back here, ma'am. The bride didn't want, any visual clashes with the theme." I stared at him. Theme? He winced as the swinging door slammed against the wall again with a sharp bang. Laughter spilled in from the reception hall, followed by a burst of music, like a taunt. "Aesthetic consistency with the photos and all," he mumbled, already backing away. I sat down slowly. The chair creaked under me. There was a dark stain on the floor beneath my feet. Gravy, maybe. My heels stuck slightly when I shifted them. I looked at my nails, freshly painted soft pink, then at the cold chicken breast someone had dropped in front of me on a chipped white plate. The worst part? I didn't say anything. Not one word. Because it was his day. Because I told myself, don't ruin this for him. Don't be that mother. Because I had paid for it all and still believed that meant something. I pulled out the program I'd been handed at the church. Elegant cursive on thick cream cardstock. No mention of me anywhere. Her father walked her down the aisle. Her mother gave the first speech. I was just the purse strings, the ghost in the kitchen, the woman no one wanted in the frame. The door swung again. I caught a glimpse of the chandelier, the band warming up, the first dance, Daniel and Emily twirling under soft gold light. He didn't look my way once. I pressed my napkin to my mouth, pretending to dab a non-existent stain. My eyes burned. I told myself it was the onions from the kitchen. The steam, the heat, not the betrayal. But it was. God, it was. And somewhere deep inside me, something cracked quietly, like a hairline fracture in glass. You don't notice until the whole pane shatters. I stared at the wall in front of me. There was a patch of peeling paint behind a fire extinguisher. I stared at it so hard I thought I'd burn a hole through it. That spot became my anchor, my focal point, the only thing keeping me from falling apart in front of a waiter balancing crab puffs. Because if I let it out, if I started crying, I didn't know if I'd ever stop. I took a deep breath, and then another. The chicken on my plate had gone cold. I didn't touch it. Eventually, someone brought out dessert. I didn't taste it, just stared at the layers of white and gold, her colors, her perfect little vision. And then I made the call. It was short, direct. I didn't need to explain myself. Just 3 simple cancellations. The flowers for tomorrow's brunch, the second half of the band's payment, and the open bar that was supposed to last until midnight. My voice was steady, calm, controlled. And when I hung up, I didn't feel guilt. I didn't feel regret. I felt the first flicker of something I hadn't known in years. Power. I looked down at my hands again, no longer shaking, my heart no longer racing, just a quiet hum like an engine coming back to life. The door swung again, another flash of light, of laughter, of the life I was excluded from. Let them toast without me. I had my own plans now. I didn't sleep that night. Not for a second. I lay in that stiff hotel bed, still in my dress, staring at the ceiling fan spinning above me like it might suddenly unscrew and crash onto my chest. I have hoped it would. I could still smell the kitchen grease in my hair, the perfume of expensive roses mingling with the sour scent of my own sweat. Humiliation clung to my skin like a second layer. At some point, I kicked off my shoes. My feet were swollen. They'd hurt during the whole reception, but I hadn't dared take them off. I needed to look presentable, even in the kitchen. It was around 3 a.m. when I sat up. The digital clock glowed red, and my phone buzzed again on the nightstand. I didn't check it. I already knew what was there. Missed calls from Daniel, from Emily, a message from my niece that just said, "What happened? Everyone's freaking out." I opened the wedding budget spreadsheet on my tablet. I've been keeping it meticulously for over a year. I knew every cent, every adjustment, every upgrade, every indulgence Emily asked for, always with a tight smile and that word she used like a knife wrapped in satin, elevated. "Margaret, we just want something a little more elevated." That's how I ended up agreeing to hand-calligraphied invitations from some boutique Etsy vendor in Vermont. That's how the venue changed from the community church hall to a restored barn with chandeliers and antique whiskey barrels. That's how the open bar added a custom cocktail menu and the cake went from 2 tiers to 5. I paid for it all. No one offered to split the cost, not Daniel, not her parents. And I never asked, because I wanted him to have everything I couldn't afford when I was raising him. I scrolled through the transactions. My breath caught when I saw them. 2 unauthorized charges made just days before the wedding. Bar tab from a tasting event, dress rehearsal dinner upgrade. Same restaurant where they sat me in the back near the kitchen again. My stomach clenched. I double-checked the card. My card, used without permission. And then I saw the note she left on Venmo to one of her bridesmaids.
His mom is covering everything. Might as well go big. Wedding vibes. I didn't cry. Not this time. I felt nothing. That strange, heavy nothing that comes after too much pain. Like my insides had gone numb. Like my nerve endings had curled inward to I reached over and turned on the lamp. The light stung my eyes.
I went to the mirror above the dresser. My reflection startled me. There was mascara smudged beneath my eyes. The soft lines of my mouth had hardened into something unfamiliar. My hair was flat, one side crushed from the pillow. I looked like someone who had aged 10 years in one night. But then something shifted. I smoothed my hair back, washed my face, sat down at the desk, and opened my email. I drafted 3 messages. One to the florist. Please cancel Sunday delivery. The payment balance is withheld. Thank you. One to the band. Due to changes in the event schedule, we will not require the second performance. Please consider the matter closed. One to the bar vendor. We're scaling back post-reception services. Please cancel the second shift. Do not process the remaining balance. All were polite, all professional, but final. It was almost dawn when I hit send, and when the sky outside turned from black to bruised blue, I closed my tablet, sat on the bed, listened to the quiet hum of the air conditioning, and for the first time in months, I felt like myself again. I wasn't angry, not yet, but I was done. Done being convenient. Done being the wallet. Done being the afterthought. Let them figure it out. Let them scramble. Let them remember the moment the music cut off, the bars stopped pouring, the flowers never arrived, and wonder why. And maybe, just maybe, they'd remember who made that wedding possible in the first place, the woman in the kitchen, the one they didn't want in the photos. It started with the drawer. A creaky old thing in the guest room dresser, half stuck, always needing a little hip bump to open. I wasn't even looking for anything in particular, just clearing out the remnants of a life I'd been too tired to sort through. But somewhere between the yellowing tax returns and expired coupons, I found it, that red folder again. The same one I thought I'd already emptied. But tucked into the sleeve, so thin it might as well have been part of the lining, was a second letter. No envelope this time, just folded once, then again, handwritten. Same slanted scroll, same name. My ex-husband's signature stared up at me like a ghost. Michael. It was dated 3 days before his death.
Margaret, if you're reading this, I guess the first letter reached you. I don't know if you opened it. I hope you did. I won't waste time apologizing again. I need to tell you something more. Something I couldn't carry with me. Something I should have said a long time ago. Daniel wasn't just someone else's son. He was never supposed to be yours at all. When Emily left him at my door, she didn't want to keep him. She was 18, terrified. She asked me to give him up for adoption. I couldn't. I didn't have the heart. I lied to you. I told you he was ours, that it was a mistake from before we got married. You believed me. You raised him. You loved him like he was flesh of your flesh. But the truth is, he wasn't even that. He was a stranger's child. And you made him your world anyway. I don't know how you'll feel reading this, but I hope, God, I hope, you know that whatever else I did wrong, I was right about choosing you. You were the only person strong enough to be his mother, not because of blood, but because of who you are." I didn't move. The words sat on my chest like a boulder. Not biologically mine, not even accidentally mine. Chosen by a man who abandoned both of us, who gave me a child and then walked away like it was a favor? My breath caught for the first time in days. My knees went weak. I sat down on the edge of the bed, paper still in my hand.
I left the letter open on the kitchen table. Didn't hide it, didn't lock it away. Just let it sit there, plain and visible, like a truth I no longer needed to shield from myself. I moved through the house like I was seeing it for the first time. The beige walls, the faded photos of Daniel's high school graduation, the dent in the doorframe from when he crashed his bike trying to ride inside. I used to smile at that dent. Now I just stared at it. That house was a museum of sacrifices, of all the ways I'd erased myself to keep him whole. The faded armchair I nursed him in, the sewing kit I used to hem his pants, the pantry still full of his favorite cereal, Honey Bunches of Oats, even though I stopped liking it years ago. It hit me all at once. I didn't know what my favorite cereal was. I didn't know the last book I'd read that wasn't a parenting guide or something from the hospital's required reading list. I didn't remember the last time I spent money on something just for me. I had lived so long being her mother, I'd forgotten how to be a woman, a person. I poured myself a glass of water and sat on the couch. The silence in the house had changed. It didn't feel lonely. It felt honest. That evening, I took every framed photo of us off the wall, not out of anger, not out of spite, because it was time to stop living in a shrine to a version of motherhood that demanded I disappear. I boxed them gently, wrapped the glass in old towels, labeled the box, memories, not obligations. I cooked dinner just for me. A recipe I saw once on a travel show. Lemon butter pasta with roasted cherry tomatoes and garlic. No chicken nuggets, no side of mac and cheese. Just what I wanted. I lit a candle while I ate, played soft jazz, set the table for one. It was quiet, but not empty. It was the sound of reclaiming something I hadn't realized I'd lost. Myself. The invitation list started with silence. No glitter pens, no gold foil, just a lined yellow notepad and the sound of my pen scratching across it. I wrote the names one by one. Not people I had to invite, people I wanted to. Claire, my old friend from the ER who used to sneak coffee into my locker when I worked doubles. Mr. Henderson, my next-door neighbor who always snow-blowed my driveway before I could get out there. Dina from the bookstore I visit every Sunday, who always asks about my week and actually listens. Nurse Janet, who once stayed late on her own birthday to help me cover a shift. No one shared my blood, but every single one had made me feel seen in a way my own son never had. And that was the new theme. People who saw me. The house was warm with laughter, real laughter. The kind that fills your chest and makes your eyes crinkle without you even noticing. The kind that echoes through the walls and reminds you you're alive. The smell of garlic and rosemary danced through the air. The table was set with care. Blue and sunflower yellow cloth, mismatched plates, cloth napkins folded into little fans. I had placed a candle in the center, not to impress anyone, just because I liked the way the flame made the silverware shine. My guests were gathered in the living room, sipping wine, sharing stories. Mr. Henderson was in the corner, telling a story about how he once locked himself out of his house in his underwear. Everyone was howling. Claire had tears in her eyes from laughing so hard. And me? I was standing in the kitchen barefoot, holding a glass of wine, smiling, not waiting to be called in, not hidden behind a door, not forgotten. I was hostess. I was present. I was seen. I plated the last dish, roasted vegetables with thyme and sea salt, and brought it out. As I set it on the table, someone clapped. "Chef Margaret strikes again," Claire said with a grin. We sat, passed the bowls, poured more wine. Somewhere between the second helping and the last bite of cornbread, Claire raised her glass again. "I think we should toast," she said. Everyone nodded. "To what?" Dina asked. Claire turned to me. "To choosing yourself," she said, "and to knowing when to stop giving to people who only know how to take." Everyone raised their glass, and I finally, fully raised mine too. I stood up. My hands didn't shake. My voice didn't tremble. I looked at every face around that table, people who weren't bound to me by obligation or blood, but by choice, by love, by respect. And I said, to the mothers who stayed quiet for too long, to the women who gave everything and were told it still wasn't enough, to the ones who were asked to sit in the kitchen after building the damn house, this is for us. May we never sit down again unless it's at the head of our own table. Glasses clinked, someone cheered, and I sat down, not in the back, not out of sight, not in exile, but in my chair, my place. Daniel never called again. I didn't need him to. The people who matter were already here. The next morning, I woke to birdsong and light pouring through my window. No regrets, no tightness in my chest, just peace. I made coffee, sat on the porch with my robe fluttering gently in the breeze. I looked out at my garden, roses blooming wild and bright. I wasn't someone's backdrop anymore. I was the main character in my own life. And finally, that was enough. If this story cracked something open in you, subscribe to Shattered Voices right now. Hit the bell, share this with every woman who's ever been told to shrink. Drop your city in the comments. Let's build a map of warriors who refuse to sit in the kitchen. Your voice is next. Speak it.